Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. Hope you're having a good day. Today I am in here, I came into my villager breeder, surrounded myself with these villagers, and I got super lucky by finding, not this guy, the other guy, a farmer. We have ourselves a farmer. Not only that, but he has some pretty decent trades for both pumpkins and melons. So I have been in here merrily trading away all of my crops, and it's gone so well. As you can see, I have a couple of stacks of emeralds on me already. He doesn't want to trade pumpkins? Oh no, he does. Okay, cool. There is this quirk of a villager's trading interface, which once again might actually change as of 1.14, but you can put whatever things you want to trade with them in the first trade, and it will still come up with the trade for them, so you don't have to click all the way through to pumpkins to sell pumpkins. This doesn't work on any other trade except for the one that you start with and the one that actually contains the item you're trading. The fact that we're trading all of these resources to him, we're trading like stacks of pumpkins or melons at a time, means that he pretty much always resets, because we're trading so much with him. So actually this has been very, very easy to do. I started it off with a little bit of wheat, but then it's just been pumpkins and melons all the way down since then. I think that is the first time he hasn't reset a trade for me. So yeah, we need to go and grab some more melons if we have them, but if not, we still have 3 stacks and 15. That's not bad. It's really not bad at all. Right, I need an ender pearl to get out of here now. One thing I neglected to build when we started this villager breeder was a good way of getting players in and out and getting villagers in and out as well. So that's definitely something we're going to have to work on today, because today we're going to tackle the somewhat intimidating task of making ourselves an iron farm. And yes, I've built a giant stone brick roof over the top of it, and it's several blocks above the cell with the doors in it, where our single nitwit villager is powering this whole villager breeding experiment. And the main reason for that is to protect it against lightning strikes, because lightning strikes can be incredibly harmful to a villager breeder, which is why it's very important not only to build a roof, but build a roof pretty high above, because the actual effect of a lightning strike takes place in a radius around the point where lightning strikes. But there is an opportunity for lightning to turn villagers directly into witches if they are struck by lightning, and it takes place over a pretty wide area. Lightning in Minecraft is actually quite powerful and kind of magical, because it will turn villagers into witches, it will turn pigs into zombie pigmen, it will turn creepers into charged creepers, so you've got a lot of potential for lightning to cause absolute chaos with the stuff that you have built, and villager breeders are no exception to that. So we had to build a roof on it. It doesn't look super pretty right now, but that's something we can incorporate into a finished build if we end up building this thing up a little bit more. It also doesn't have to be a completely flat square like that either. We can probably just style a roof over the top of it, and that will protect the villagers as best it can. We also have a couple of cartographers or librarians in here with pretty decent paper trades. This one's got a 26 with Curse of Binding and a few other books that we have yet to unlock. This one's got a 25 paper trade and Punch 1. That guy over there is a cartographer. And this guy is a 33 paper trade, but he has another mending book trade for 36 emeralds this time, so not quite as good as Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn was an absolute beast, as it turns out. But yeah, we have even more little librarians growing up and, you know, maybe turning into cartographers. Patient Zero is still in here, and we have a couple of other toolsmiths and weaponsmiths. We have a lot of choices for villager breeding right now. And then, of course, we have these guys. I also ended up putting a few magma blocks around the outside of this because it was attracting so many zombies at night, guys. It was it was a little bit incredible. And obviously, standing underneath that roof meant that we didn't have any chance of getting attacked by phantoms, but the magma blocks were kind of necessary to kill some of the zombies because there were swarms of the guys. But today we are actually going to get rid of some of these magma blocks, because what I want to do is transport some of these villagers out of the villager breeder as they grow up. And we're going to put them in a holding cell over here, and eventually they're going to be transported up into the sky, where we're going to be building our first iron farm. So I made a couple of quick changes to the outside of our villager breeder. The first is to set up these water streams running into a holding cell, where hopefully the villagers should not be able to escape. I don't think I've left any blocks in here that will enable them to get up onto the walls and out of here, but we've made this whole thing out of glass so we can see exactly how many villagers are in here, and ultimately, we're not going to keep this thing around for long, so it's good to think that this is a temporary sort of structure. But this is just going to be a way of channeling villagers out of the breeder and into a kind of holding cell that we can keep them in until we have the time to transport them up to the iron farm we're going to build. The next thing to do is to get inside the villager breeder itself, so I'm going to hook up there with an ender pearl and come down this impromptu pumpkin ladder I created, and in each of these corners, which you'll notice the villagers tend to gather in somewhat frequently, we're going to take out this block of farmland. Now, obviously, this is going to mean that this nitwit here is probably going to end up falling in the hole pretty soon, along with some of the other librarians. There we go. And that one's going to go out into... Oh, yep, we probably need to increase the headroom there. Nope, okay, looks like he's made it down there. The next thing we want to do is place a trapdoor in place of that and open that, allowing some villagers to get in there. The thing about trapdoors is even if they are open, some mobs will see them as full blocks and they'll walk over onto them, which means you can actually trick mobs into falling down trapdoors quite easily. This is a fairly key component of some mob farms as well. But in this case, we're going to limit the height of anything that can travel underneath the trapdoor so that only baby villagers can do it. So any villagers who have grown up will end up staying in the breeder because they won't be able to get past this. Whereas baby villagers tend to like to run around a whole lot, and that means that they will occasionally drop themselves down. Look, see, someone just did that voluntarily. So we now have 2 white-coated baby villagers going to be out there in the kind of holding area along with that nitwit. And it's just occurred to me that they are probably getting stuck in that air block there. So at least they're safe. At least they're not going to drown or anything like that. But we might have to change up the design just a touch here to make sure that some of these villagers can come through. But if you look at that, they are already making their way through. So that's really not too bad. Of course, thanks to their height, one of the little villagers has also just made it out of this pipe, which I thought I was just going to leave open so that you could see the villagers go through. But no, it turns out they are determined to climb everywhere. Get in there, you little tinkers. Okay, had to improvise a little bit, but this is now a villager holding cell. We've got 2 water streams coming in here, one from over there, one from over there. To be honest, I could have made them both like this. I don't know why I overcomplicated things, but again, we were improvising. That's kind of the way these things turn out occasionally. Now let me ender pearl out of here, or I guess I could always just use my elytra if I wanted to, but hup. There we go. And now, hopefully, if we put a lid on this thing, villagers will continue to accumulate in here and grow up into full-size villagers, at which point we can put them together to work in the iron farm. And to explain how the iron farm works, we have to know a little bit more about village mechanics. So once again, we are visiting this village in the hopes of explaining this to you. Once a village reaches a certain population and has a certain number of doors, it will need protecting because chances are enough villagers will be bred that will attract a lot of zombies. In fact, zombie sieges can take place in which a village actually spawns zombies somewhere near the center and the zombies will attack the villagers. So regardless of whether you've got this area lit up, if all of the blocks in this area are not spawn-proof, it is possible for zombies to suddenly appear. To protect the villagers, they spawn an Iron Golem. And an Iron Golem has a chance to spawn in a village which has more than 23 doors, I think it's something along those lines, and a population of more than 10. So in order to farm Iron Golems, we have to simulate these conditions in an area we can control. And for that, I will actually need to reclaim a bunch of these doors, because we will need 24 doors in order to set up a very basic iron farm. While we're waiting for more villagers to filter down into this holding cell down here, we actually need to figure out where we're going to build our iron farm. And there are a couple of major considerations for this. The main one being whether or not the farm is in the spawn chunks, the 16 by 16 area around the world spawn point. Now, our world spawn point is just over there in the field. In fact, I just took a measurement of it, and I'm pretty sure that right here is the boundary of where the spawn chunks are, because the chunk we were in, if you look at the left-hand side underneath where it says block, it says chunk, and it'll say 1409, which is the actual block we're standing on. That's how it's calculating the block we're standing on in 13,513. So we are 13 chunks away from 00, and you can tell that from the coordinates that we've got there in the top left as well. Mathematically, that kind of works out. But the chunk we spawned on was 512, or at least I think maybe the sub-chunk might have been a little bit lower, but it was around 512, and that's basically 8 chunks out from 5, which is 13, is roughly where our spawn chunks will end. And it's not going to show you this if you show chunks like this, so it's kind of down to your calculations whether or not you know where the spawn chunks are. But it isn't necessarily centered around 00, so if your world spawn point is a little bit further out from 00, maybe 00 is waterlogged or something like that, you'll end up maybe 200 blocks away in other directions, and that's kind of how you have to figure it out. You have to find your world spawn point, which is where compasses will point to, or where you end up respawning if you broke the last bed you slept in and you die, we can calculate the distance from your original spawn point out as far as 8 chunks away, and that's where we want to build an iron farm. But for the sake of safety, we're probably going to build this iron farm a little bit closer to our world spawn point. I think probably somewhere around here. We're going to use this hill as a kind of a benchmark for that. And the thing about iron farms is they're always going to look quite big, and they end up floating in the sky more often than not, because you want them away from any collections of doors. And that is why we're going to be building this thing high in the sky, and hopefully we will end up decorating it to make it look a little bit more than just a floating platform. Because I don't know about you, but I find floating platforms in my world to just be a little bit distracting, and they break the immersion of the kind of space you're trying to create. But I think up here will be a good starting point. The other thing to take into account is that your iron farm should be at least 64, if not more, probably around 70 blocks away from any doors, which includes the doors of the village cell we have down there. It also includes any doors that we built into any of these surrounding structures, which will probably include the doors to this cactus farm down here. So for the moment, at least, I'm going to disable the doors down here by taking them away, and that should hopefully, I mean, it makes it look a little bit more ugly, but that should hopefully prevent it from interfering with this iron farm in any way. But either way, we're going to have to probably count at least 64 blocks, probably about 70 blocks from the Y coordinate of the cell with the doors here, which is at Y87. So, okay, we're going to have to go up to Y157, which is pretty darn high if you ask me, but we're going to have to pillar up to that height and start our iron farm structure up there, because that's the only way we can guarantee that this villager breeder won't interfere with the village we're actually going to create up there. The top of this mountain is already at Y97, so we're already 10 blocks higher than that, but we need to go another 60 blocks up from here, so I guess let's start the pillar. Here we are at Y158, and I think maybe we'll go down one more, and that'll probably do. Now, we brought a lot of supplies with us here, and I'll pop those on here and grab a little bit of stone now. We might convert some of that into stone brick, because that's going to be a nice material to build with up here. And what we want to do to start off with is create a large platform with a 3x3 hole in the middle. And I think we're probably going to start the edge of our 3x3 hole here. So if we go about there, it's going to be slightly off center from this pillar that we just built, but no worries, that should be fine. 3 blocks on that direction and 3 blocks in this direction as well, and just join that up. So there we go. We have a 3x3 hole in here, and this is where our iron golems are going to be falling down, presuming that we can spawn them up here safely. Part of the reason I've been pillaring up with gravel, by the way, aside from the fact that I have so much of it right now, is because we can just take that out with a single torch at the bottom of this ladder. But anyway, not to worry. For right now, all we need to do is build this out so it's got 8 block distance on each side of this hole. So we're actually going to count out 8 blocks. That's 2 already, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we need to do this on all sides and turn this into a giant square platform centered on this 3x3 hole. And for now, I'm going to keep an eye on the zombies down there while it's nighttime, because I don't think they should be able to get to any of my villagers, but I'm a little bit worried. Yeah, I think I might have to swoop down and deal with this. Because the last thing I want right now is for one of those villagers to get converted into a zombie villager through the corner of the glass here, which can still happen on normal mode. There we go. I think that should be all sealed off. But let's take a quick sleep just in case, and hope that a creeper isn't sneaking up behind me as we speak. Nope, there we go. Okay, I guess I'll take the bed with me from now on then. And the reason I brought this much materials with us is because we're going to need it. We're going to build a giant wall around the outside of this. We're going to build a 3-block high wall around the perimeter here. With that built, we're going to put 4 andesite blocks in each of the corners like so, which is mainly going to be here so that when we put the water in, all of the water is going to flow directly to this central hole. I'll show you guys that in a second, because water physics in this game obviously are a little bit hard to manage sometimes, so I'll do my best to explain it when we get there. Now comes the part where things are going to get a little bit interesting, because we're going to be putting 4 villager cells, 1 on each side of this iron farm, and this is where our doors are going to be going. I'm doing a couple of little aesthetic flourishes here with stairs, but really all you need to do is set up a villager cell, much like the one that we set up for our villager breeder. We want 6 doors up here and a space for the villagers to stand. And this is actually going to be walled off in here. And this is different to a lot of other iron farm designs you will see, but it should work just as well. In fact, when I tested this out in a creative test world, there was a couple of weird things going on with some other iron farm designs I was looking at online. So I think this is probably going to be the most reliable thing I can guarantee will work for you if you're building this in Minecraft Java right now. I'm going to leave a gap here into which we're going to bring some of the villagers, which is going to require one heck of a minecart trip for them. But around the rest of this, we're going to make a frame that I want to make out of andesite blocks and spruce stairs. Again, just for aesthetic purposes, not for any kind of actual technical reason. The most important thing at work here is that each of these villager cells is going to be at equal places around the outside of the iron farm. So everything lines up with this 3-wide hole in the center here. That little panel of andesite blocks is going to go the same over here. And we're going to put all of the doors and so forth in here exactly the same as we just did in that previous cell. And we're going to do this on all 4 sides of the iron farm in exactly the same place. There is no room for error here. Once the walls are done and all the cells are in place, you can do a couple of things. You can either start on the water right now, or you can bring the villagers up here. And I'm not certain that all of the villagers are done quite yet, so I'm probably going to start on the water for this bit. And all we need to do is make sure there are water sources along each of these walls, but don't put the water sources anywhere else quite yet, or you'll end up with this whole thing flooding out and water going down the center here. But with this 8-block distance, oh, that is something I hadn't considered. We're actually going to have to light up some of this area because otherwise the water is going to freeze and turn into ice, because we're that high up in an extreme hills biome. So yeah, we will have to put some better light sources in here, but that's not going to be a huge problem. We'll probably put some redstone lamps or just some torches around the walls here. It's only the water sources that will be able to turn into ice, and eventually this whole thing is going to be covered over anyway, so we don't need to worry too much about that right now. But let's at least stop it from freezing in the meantime by placing torches every so often on the walls here. I just realized I built this bit wrong, so let me quickly correct that. I shouldn't be spending so much time on the aesthetics of this place, but I can't help it, you guys. One more important thing to remember is that this floor needs to be made out of solid blocks. It doesn't have to be stone brick, obviously. It can be any kind of solid block you want, but that doesn't include things like glowstone and glass that have transparency. Because even though golems can spawn in transparent blocks, which is how come they can spawn in water, they will need a solid block below them in order to spawn in the first place, which means this whole thing has to be made out of something sturdy. Make it something you've got a lot of, like stone, cobblestone, stone brick, that kind of stuff. Even wood, if you've got a decent amount of it. Our next step is going to require even more stone brick, because we're going to make another identical platform to this one at this height. This is 5 blocks up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is on the 5th block up around the top here from this platform, and that's going to leave enough space for all of the golems to spawn, but is going to provide another spawning platform for them, because where these villager cells are oriented, golems can spawn within a 5-block radius either up or down, and so this essentially maximizes the spawning space for the golems to appear without like limiting it too high by making the ceilings too low or anything like that. And we're going to do exactly the same thing up here as we did with the platform below. To completely fill it up with water, we need to make sure that we've got these corners blocked off so that the water doesn't have anywhere to flow but down into the pool over here. We'll get our water sources started, and here, just like the area below, we'll have to make sure that we've lit the area up a little bit so that we don't have to contend with all of our water sources freezing every time we place them. And as far as the setup goes, that's our iron farm done. Now we do need to make sure we get the villagers up here, and that is going to be quite the task, especially with those zombies after them. But you know, I think we've done a pretty good job of this so far. Aesthetically speaking, that is not the prettiest thing in the world, and it's going to be pretty obvious from down here by the farmhouse that that thing is up there in the sky. But maybe we'll make some sort of, I don't know, hot air balloon out of it or something like that. I think that could work. For now, though, I'm going to have to get some sleep and then hang out by my villager breeder a little bit more, because the villagers do suffer from the same problem that other mobs do, in that when you get too far away from them, they tend to freeze in place. Oh gosh, there's a lot of skeletons over there. I might need to light up that mountain now that the iron farm is going to be casting a shadow up on there, because, yep, those zombies are not burning. But as I was saying, we're going to have to spend a little bit longer hanging around our villager breeder, because if you get too far away from mobs, villagers included, they freeze in place, and that means that they're no longer able to walk around and breed and socialize and throw food to each other and stuff like that. So it's actually going to take them a little while to breed any more villagers, and we still only have the same villagers in here that we had before. We've got 6 in here right now. They've all grown up, but they're not breeding any further, and they are not actually increasing in number right now. I think it's just going to be a matter of waiting around, performing the occasional trade, and hoping that we get a few more villagers filtering through the system. And now begins the long and painstaking process of getting all of the villagers up to the iron farm, which, as you can tell, is quite some feat, and I have traveled a long way up. People with vertigo need not apply. I actually had to take off the thunderstorm shield kind of thing that was up here, because I think maybe it's something to do with the way I've oriented the doors and the fact that sunlight wasn't hitting it. But yeah, if I put that storm shield over the top of this, over the top of the cell with that villager in, then it doesn't, like, it turns off the villager breeder. Like, the guys down there just didn't want to breed at all. And it wasn't covering the glass there. I specifically put a hole in there so that the guy there had sky access. But I think it's like the house has to have sky access. I want to say thanks to Frilioth, by the way, for mentioning a few things that I kind of mistakenly said in the last episode. I'm sure Frilioth will have lots to say about this episode, because he is one of the people who has definitely pioneered recent, like, technical stuff with villagers and iron farms and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I have absolutely no idea if I'm doing some of this stuff right, but I think I'm doing it at least in a way that you guys can understand and try and emulate for your own purposes. There's only so much stuff I can claim to be an expert in, and believe me, villager stuff and iron farms, some of these more technical projects, I'm really not, like, the world's foremost expert on. Oh, I tell you what I am the world's foremost expert on, though, absolutely sticking the landing when it comes to getting these paths perfectly timed. Like, that actually legitimately hits where I need it to hit. So that's pretty incredible. All right, now we're going to run a powered rail all the way up here from the villager breeder, and hopefully villagers will end up in here. We need to get 10 of them in here. We need to get 1 in each of these surrounding cells, and then they should start producing iron golems in the center here. All right, looks like the villager breeder has been doing its job, and we have a regular old bunch of villagers in here. Now comes the big test. If I pull some water in from up here, they're all going to get swept towards that corner, except for that guy, who seems to just be having the time of his life bobbing up and down on the surface. Mate, you're supposed to go down into the breeder. What on earth are you playing at? Get down there, fool. You jumping fool. All right, let's block that off, and hopefully nobody goes in there and drowns. But the idea is to push them all into this corner, because if I do that, I can pop a minecart on the rail here and push it into there, and that will actually pick up a villager out the corner and send him flying up. I'll see you at the top, mate. And it looks like he's made it. Oh, perfect. Well done. Well done. First try. What do you have? Oh, you're a shepherd. Okay, fair enough. You can go in here then. That's fine. Just got to nudge him down into this first holding cell, and bam, there you go. Sorry, he took a little bit of fall damage. That'll be fine. Now, since we've got a bunch of villagers all crowding out this space now, I kind of feel like sending up a couple at once, don't you? Let's go. Villager number 1 and villager number 2. Oh, nope, we didn't get anybody that time. Oh, what a shame. Oh, we got someone this time. Oh, I'm sorry I hit you. And off you go. Oh no, you got sent back down. Oh dear. Yeah, maybe sending them up 2 at a time is not the best idea I've had. As I mentioned, the idea is to get 10 villagers up there and then an additional 1 in each of the other cells. So that should all be fairly straightforward to do now. Where has the other guy got to? I'm going to ride the minecart myself and find out. Did he get stuck halfway down? That feels very suspicious to me. Oh, he managed to ride it all the way back to the top. Okay, fair enough. I'll let that minecart go down. It might even bring another villager back up if we're lucky. But with the villagers exposed like this, yes, there we go. We've got a white coat coming up as well. Oh, this is brilliant. I'm going to quickly sleep through the night. Don't want to worry about any zombies coming and catching up with us. Here's one. I thought I saw you coming, buddy. So effectively what we have now is a villager retrieval system, which will send that cart down and should bring us another villager by the time I finish poking and prodding this one into our holding cell. I think that's 3 so far. And here comes the next one. Is that a baby? It's a baby! Hello, friend! You just joined us? All right, well, you'll grow up inside of here, no problem. Send down another cart, see what we get. Oh, yes, this is like a well-oiled machine at this point. Next to ride the roller coaster is a Fletcher. All right, in you go, Mr. Fletcher. Well, that went very well, and now hopefully all these villagers will be okay hanging out here in the iron farm. The next thing we're going to do is get a few villagers over to each of these individual pods. Over here, we should only need 1 in each, but for some reason, that just seems to be what you need. It helps to balance the village out, I guess. I don't really know the mechanics that go into this at all. So far, all of our new recruits seem to be behaving themselves, which is good, even though the water in the farm is not, and oh, looks like I probably need to sleep again. And that's the last guy going in. So now... Oh, we lost the minecart on that one. What are you? Oh, you're a farmer? Oh, what a shame. You're not the farmer that we had in our villager breeder already, though, right? You're not the one with all of that. No, you didn't have the unlocked trades and stuff. Of course not. There we go. In you go. Fantastic stuff. So this should now all be set up, and I'm actually going to go and dive in and get that minecart. Minecarts are expensive, you guys. Minecarts need to be collected. But these guys are all set, so now we need to take out all of this track, make sure all of the torches and stuff are back in place so that this ice doesn't keep appearing everywhere. Seriously, of all the problems I expected to run into when creating this iron farm, ice forming up here was the least of my concerns at the time. And now if you're expecting iron golems to suddenly spring out of nowhere, unfortunately, you would be very disappointed, because the way the game actually generates iron golems, it takes about 6 minutes for one to appear, or at least it takes 6 minutes for the game to check if a village needs an iron golem and then decide to spawn it. And it has two places it can spawn it, either on this platform here or on the platform below. So chances are we might not see an iron golem drop here for another few minutes, which will give us a perfect amount of time to prepare the last stage of the iron farm, which is going to be the killing mechanism. And of course, we all know if we've actually got this right when an iron golem spawns in the sky and drops directly on our heads. Got one! Hello, friends! This is an iron golem. We haven't even seen an iron golem in this series yet before, because they're actually quite rare to spawn in villages. Villages with small populations tend to spawn throughout the map, and you don't tend to see these guys unless you get a really, really large village or two conjoined villages. But these guys are kind of incredible. To be honest, they're also incredibly dangerous, especially if you attack them. The golems that you can spawn in as a player don't fight back if you attack them. They can't even hurt you. They will just die to your sword. But the guys who are spawned in as part of villages are here to protect the village, and that means they are dangerous. They have the hardest hit of some of the overworld mobs in the game. They have probably the most HP of any non-boss mob in the game. To give you a quick point of comparison, these guys have half as much health as the Ender Dragon. So when it comes to fighting these things, you don't want to do it. So what you want to do is put them in a position to die easily. And for that, we're going to create, oh, if I can actually select the glass, we're going to create an area here in which they're going to fall and die either on magma blocks or with a blade of lava that comes out at the side here. And the thing about iron golems is they are 3 blocks tall, which means that you can put some lava at the kind of 3-block head height of an iron golem, and then the drops, the iron and the poppies that they drop, because yes, they actually drop poppies as well, will just pop out at the bottom, won't be affected by going into the lava, and you can collect them. By placing signs all the way around this area and one sign attached to that sign there to push it out into the middle, we can actually create an environment where, I'll do this with water because I don't have lava on me right now. As an example, you can pour liquids over the top of there and it will cover this entire area, although lava won't quite flow to this corner. And there we go. As you can see, the golem drops directly into this. And you might think that we could probably just drown him. Nope, golems don't drown. These guys are tough as nails, and this guy is probably going to want to get out of here. As the saying goes, you've got to spend money to make money, and in this case we have to spend iron to make iron. I need to make a few hoppers for the bottom of here to make sure that any drops get caught and transferred into a collection chest. Then we're going to take a casual flight through the nether and grab one of these lava streams from here and there. In fact, I might just grab some from the lava lake because I'm feeling lazy and I don't feel like going all the way up to the roof of the nether there. And with a few hoppers installed down there, this is where things heat up a little bit. And there we go, we killed one iron golem, and that took a while. That genuinely does take a really, really long time, and now this guy does not seem all that happy. But there we go, we have our first iron golem loot, 3 iron and 2 poppies. And you might think 3 iron is not much, and you're exactly right. 3 iron really isn't all that much. Wow, that guy looks sinister in the shadow of this iron farm. Let's light you up, buddy. So yeah, the problem with iron farms of this size is that they are slow. They are slow and kind of tedious, and they really don't produce all that much iron. Like I said, we're going to get 1 iron golem from this about every 6 minutes, which means 10 iron golems per hour, which means if they each give us between 3 and 5 ingots, we're looking at about 40 iron per hour, which is why you tend to see these things built on the spawn chunks of servers, because they don't get unloaded whenever you're away from spawn, which means iron can just keep building up and building up in this chest until it's enough for you to harvest. And so that's the goal for this thing, is just to leave it running in the background constantly. Wherever we are in the world, whatever we happen to be doing, this thing will be producing iron for us. And hopefully we have built it in the spawn chunks of this world. I'm pretty sure I got the measurements right. I think what I'm probably going to do is go AFK overnight and see how much this can produce. Now, there are other iron farms out there. This is a very basic iron farm design, and you will see people advertising to make fantastic amounts of iron per hour. If you look at designs like Tango Tech's Iron Titan or Iron Phoenix designs, for example, and there are a bunch of these available on the Minecraft wiki. If you look up the tutorial on Iron Golem farming, you'll find a bunch of different designs, all of them pretty much with video tutorials or picture tutorials that you can follow. There are a lot of resources required to make some of them, so if this is your first time building an iron farm, I recommend sticking to the basics, but this is just the beginning. But that is all we've got time for this episode, so I want to say thank you so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care, bye for now.